So, hello and good afternoon. I welcome you to today's Trading Spotlight webinar together with Admirals on Friday. It's the 3rd of September 2021. Probably we've just witnessed the, bad job report around the NFPs, but this is not the topic of today's webinar. Probably this will be still a leader for the upcoming days. What we want to do today is, or what I want to do is, in fact, give you some insights on how I prepare for my day as a trader, what routines I go through. I want to show you not just which routines I go to prepare and then trade, but also what I do afterwards. We will use a real trade. I did. In fact, I just realized that here during this presentation, it's a trade from the beginning of the year. It was in January. It was an earnings report from Netflix. And I was trading the earnings report and betting on not just run to new all-time highs, which happened, but it was also a trade which was considering a potential swing up to $600 level we haven't, in fact, then seen. But now, as of now, we're trading back to these levels again. So that being said, this is just a short introduction on what we want to focus on here, the day of a professional trader. Why could this be of interest? Why will this be of interest? Because following a clear routine, having a clear game plan is probably exactly this or exactly that what you need with the potentially elevated volatility which we are facing in the upcoming weeks, then probably months ahead of us. Probably there will be a more volatile close to the year after this massive run up in equities due to taper speculation now kicking in. Surprisingly, we have to say, because we have a bad jobs report. And this being said, this could cause some irritations. As of now, people might probably say, hey, Fed taper, this is off the table, and no. And thus we should continue to move higher. The only question is how much of such a saying or expectation from market participants are we priced in. Whatever. However, if you watch this now on YouTube, the recording, please feel free to leave a thumb up here if you enjoy what you will see in the upcoming minutes. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, set a reminder so that you don't miss any of the videos which we will produce for you here. Leave a comment if you have any questions related to the topic today. If you want to share your daily routine with us, also please feel free to post it, ask your questions there, give us some insights, not just into your trading, but also what topics you'd like to see covered here from us. So yeah, there's definitely some opportunities then from your end to give us your input so that we can produce videos which you like. Which you like us to produce respectively then to see. And so what I want to do now is I want to share my screen here. There we go. So quite lengthy introduction, but hopefully it was worth it. So today, again, a trading day with a professional trader. I guide you through my daily routine. I guide you through my preparation, what I do, in fact, to calm down. This is also something which is of high importance, in fact. So, for example, meditation, you will see this. This is also very, very important to find a routine to get into your zone, to perform at your highest possible level, in fact, peak performance in this context, to reach your zone and then trade out of this zone. In fact, this is some preparation part beside the game plan. You have to write down what you want to see and then how you want to trade the day then, and the asset which you'd like to trade then. And then also, sure, it's not just the trading part. This is also something which is probably of interest. You will see this. So the thing is that that one of the reasons why I, for example, are very, very skeptical when it comes to live trading events. So if I'm located in Berlin in Germany, so I was invited several times to live trading events in the past, and I joined them. I traded there, and then for an audience that were able to ask questions to see us trading there. The only thing was that after some events, I got a little annoyed, to be honest, because the thing is that the focus here is purely on the execution part. It's purely on like, okay, I'm now long the DAX, I'm short on Netflix, I'm going long Apple here, whatever. And then you illustrate why you entered the trade, and then you give some technical insights. But in fact, this is just the pure execution part, and it's probably yeah, it's not it's not important, but at least it's something I'd say is, how can I say that? It's something which is not of such high importance as, for example, what we have to go through the preparation part, respectively, then also in the review part. And so this is also something we want to shine a light on then today, and I hope that I can give some insights here. Before we officially start, first of all, I'd like to give you some insights on Admirals here, Admiral Markets, and now Admirals. So there's a rebranding taking place. Reason for that is that Admirals is now expanding its financial service presence, in fact. Started out as an FX and CFD broker with having over 8,000 financial instruments being tradable, has a global presence with different languages, which is of high importance, in fact. So I'm a former a bank employee, so I worked in the retail sector. And if you have an international client, what you can certainly feel is if you're talking, in this case, my case, then German to him, he doesn't feel comfortable because when we talk about financial topics, then it's a very sensitive topic, right? And that being said, it's of high importance for many people to talk to someone in their native language. And there's the global presence from Admirals, which comes into play. So there's a high chance that you will reach someone in your native language then to talk to and to ask your questions to. Fully regulated broker here over here in Germany, for example. It's not just the regulation part, but also the offering in terms of trading then. For example, tight spreads when it comes to DAX. So when talking about Admirals, usually we refer to Admirals as the DAX expert. It's not just the commissions, respectively, in this case, the very tight spreads, but also in addition to that, order execution speed and reliability as a broker. So one of the reasons why you should definitely give Admirals a deeper look, deeper consideration. And again, so this is the brokerage part. Now they start to expand their business, offering a credit card, for example, offering or making some steps and discussions in regards to the crypto space. And that being said, then leaves us to the or let us come to the rebranding part, where Admiral Markets is now Admirals in this context. And regulations, I already mentioned this, one word, one broker. The thing is that right now, as of now, there's no entity, regulatory authority coming into play in Jordan. Then also probably of interest for some of you, further informations can be found on admirals.com. Yeah, feel free to check out the website there for further information. Now, what we want to do is we want to go through the day of a professional trader. Respectively, I want to give you some insights in what my routine looks like, how I prepare. I mean, talking about here in my agenda of the in the third person is probably a little weird, but yeah, I want to show some insights on how I prepare for the day, what trades I take. I focus on, I prepare for, and then I execute on. And not just that, but it's not done after you executed on the trade. You say, oh God, I made some money, or you probably lost some money. You shut down the computer, but the real work and the development as a trader does not start or end in this case when you have executed on a trade, but it starts really after the trade has been done. And we have here really a performance sport, and there's also, in addition to that, when it comes to trading, there's luck involved. So you can make a fantastic trade. The trade hypothesis might be great. You have a great fundamental catalyst, whatever, and you can still, based on all these input parameters, you can still lose money on the trade. The same is true. You can make a horrible trade with having not thought about it before, having no hypothesis, having not set a stop loss, still could be a winning trade. And so the thing is that over the long run, still, the winning traders, the professionals, they differ from those who don't make it in trading when it comes to their process, which they go through. So even if I have a losing day, I sit down. It's not that I'm not frustrated. It can be really like I'm shaking my head, just thinking, oh gosh, and then it starts to boil, and you say, okay, now I go out for a walk, I jog around the block, something like that, work out, whatever, come home, and then I take a shower, sit down, and then I review my day. I write it down. I have my trading journal. How do I feel? What can I learn out of this trade? So a losing trade you can't learn something from is really a lost trade. A trade where you lose money, but you can learn something from. You made a mistake and you can spot the mistake, and you can do something to overcome the mistake in the future. This is where really the professionalism in trading comes into play, and where the process then plays a very important role. So we could easily say that where's luck involved, there we have to focus on the process. And this is why it's so important here in this context, not to focus on the execution part of the trading, but really focus on what do I do to prepare well for the day? What can I do to repeat this, to duplicate this? And also, what can I learn out of these trades? If it's a winning trade, a losing trade, whatever, what can I do, what can I do better next time, in fact? And so this is in fact what today's topic is about. I have, unfortunately, I just realized that the only picture I have in this presentation now is on the trade I want to show you then, but I try to make it I try to tell you some stories around this. Let's put it that way. By the way, if you have any questions, again, feel free to ask them. Also, if you watch the recording, I check the recordings which are uploaded then in the YouTube channel here from Admirals. I check them over time, and if there's any questions, please feel free to leave them there. So let's start here with the first part. So it's the preparation part, which starts already in the evening before. So probably this is something important to note here. This could definitely differ depending on the asset classes you're trading and where you're located in the world, for example. So in my case, my main focus, due to several reasons, by the way, is now starting to be on equities in this context. So it started with a development around a tax here in Germany, the government, and then the probably potential successor of Merkel now as a chancellor. He is the finance minister. There's some developments taking place no one can really understand. Doesn't make sense at all. It's like you could pay more taxes when trading certain financial products. You could pay more taxes than you make money trading these because you only have an amount of, I think it's 20,000 euros or something. You can have losses, and if you, let's say, make 100,000 in profits and you have 80,000 losses, you made overall 20,000, but you're only allowed here to say I made losses of 20,000. So you have to pay taxes on 80,000 in gains, and then the upcoming years. But that being said, it could result in you paying more taxes on your capital gains than you than you initially made with your capital gains. Whatever the story behind this, so my main focus is on US equities. And this is something which is then leaving me focusing especially on the main trading hours there. So German time, it's 3:30 p.m. every day. And the great thing is about, 3:30 means I have plenty of time to prepare. Already the evening before, still, I start to prepare for the day. I know probably already at the weekend before which news are of interest the upcoming week. What is currently driving markets? What could be of interest next week? So this week, for example, to give an example, Zoom was of interest due to the earnings, which were released Monday after hours, in fact. And then we saw a huge gap lower, given the fact that they guided in line, which was of interest because guiding in line in the growth stock is usually something which leads to selling pressure because market participants pricing in more growth in the future. And if you just guide in line and say, yes, the growth is there, but still it's just the growth you probably have already bet on the months before earlier, well, you see a gap lower. But still, there was an interesting development taking place because we gapped to a level around 300 USD per share, for example, which is interesting from a psychological perspective. And also when looking at the overall technical picture, you see the stock being down nearly 50% from its all-time high. So there has been a huge run higher over the last year due to COVID, pandemic, remote, and people staying at home, video services, or in this case, online webinar services starting to gain traction and interest among market participants. So there was already a huge push higher, but still the growth rates are phenomenal for the stock. So that being said, I thought probably we are a little overdone on the downside. And that being said, could be interesting to trade a bounce against this region. That didn't happen, by the way, but this was something I was already thinking about the evening before. So Monday after hours, I saw the numbers, I saw the earnings, and then I started already to think about how could I trade the stock tomorrow. So this is the first stock I look at in this context. That might be different, but for example, case of, let's say, gold right now, or Euro USD crosses, or major pairs in general right now with the non-farm payrolls release, you know that on Friday, 1:30 p.m. London, we have this release. So prepare for this. Write down what's potential game plan your day, in fact. So what could be the outcome of this news release, and how could it affect in the overall environment based on the BS here, the market? And so this is then what I already do in the evening before. Then when I wake up in the morning, I also have a clear routine, which is sometimes interrupted. It's not that easy, in fact. So if you're, for example, if you're married, you have a wife, you have children, well, you can see it's very difficult to keep your routine. But I told my wife how important it is for me to have a clear routine I follow to get as close to my zone and perform as good as possible right from the start of the day, to have a good feeling. This is something here, for example, I mean, this is obviously very, very individual. So some people might say, I have to work out, I have to go for a walk, or jog around the block, or go to the gym early in the morning, or have a strong black coffee, or a good breakfast, or take a shower, or some kind of meditation. So it definitely it's definitely something which is highly individual. In my case, for example, what I need is I really need to bring my kids to the kindergarten, and I do this to just have some time with them, talk to them, ask them what did you have any dreams or something like that. And then after I brought them to the kindergarten, I go for a walk from the kindergarten back home. So this is something like 20 to 30 minutes. And it's every day it's the same. Or when walking home, then I'm listening to an audiobook, for example, so Audible or something like that, on a topic which is of interest right now for me. And this helps me really to say, okay, I already did something today, even though it was just a walk, but to make a step forward to be a better person today than I was yesterday. So better person, or more developed, let's say. And this is something which helps me to perform well today. Again, I tell you this because it's important that you understand who you are, what is good for you. And that's one of the reasons when I, for example, ask someone, who are you, or who do you think you are? It's one of the key questions you have to answer to get to your highest possible level. You have to know what you need to perform well. And this is even more important when it comes to trading in this context, high performance high performance sport in this context. And then I come to the trading desk and I have my routine in terms of, for example, preparing, in my case, the morning meeting, for example, give people some insights into my thoughts of the day. So I already know which stocks are of interest. And then what I then start is I talk about these in a webinar format. So I give people some insights into my thoughts for the day and what assets are for me of interest. This is interesting because here I have a chance, and this might differ from many people who probably trade the DAX, for example. So people sit down at the desk and then they have to have obviously a different routine respectively. Once I give this morning briefing here in this context, for example, from my end, I mean, I obviously can't focus on trading, but the good thing is that this perfectly fits my daily routine and my overall routine I go through every day. And that being said, I can already share my thoughts with other people, which is very important because I might be wrong. The great thing about this is, and this is what possibilities arise from these webinars, I can reach people around the globe and I can tell everyone what I think about the market, and it might might be completely different from what someone else sees. Or there might be someone waving the hand and saying, I'm sorry, but I think you misinterpreted this number, for example. And then bringing some thoughts here at their end, helping to expand my horizon here on this specific stock. So that being said, it's one thing which is of interest for me when I get to the trading desk, for example. Beside of that, already the day before, again, I have formulated, for example, what I'd like to do better the next day. For today, that's interesting because some of you probably follow these webinars for several times now, for several months now, probably a year, and you're already used to me at this point here. It's 20 minutes after 2 p.m. 2:20 p.m. London right now. Usually I now say, oh, you have to wait a second. And then I bring in my Excel file here at my screen. And then I have to type in some numbers to prepare for the day. This is something I skipped for today and also for Monday, because yesterday already I said, well, we have Labor Day in the US on Monday. And I don't, even if we have today's NFPs, I don't expect volatility to significantly pick up. You can already see this in equities that this is in fact what we right now get to see. I probably give it a deeper look here in the upcoming minutes then after the webinar is closed, and then we'll see whether I'm right or wrong, and probably there will be a trading opportunity which will arise, even though I already know if I trade at all, which is unlikely. Still, I have to reduce my position size because I'm not prepared as I'm usually are once this is let's call it normal environment, for example. So I already know this the evening before what I plan to do, and having this clear plan helps me to stay in my zone and not being confronted with a situation where I get overwhelmingly, let's say, emotional or something, or I don't know what I do. So usually you have to understand that when trading, we have a very, how can I say that? It's an abstract situation in which you find yourself. I mean, we are looking at a chart. We see candles. So this is like green and red bars. Let your kid, if you have children, let them sit in front of your screen, look at the screen, and then ask them what they see, and you will have lots of fun what they see in the chart. But this perfectly illustrates, if you look at the chart, it's a very abstract topic, which can give you, or which can result in you getting lost, which mostly results out of the fact that you're not prepared, that you do not know what you're doing. This is also something, if someone asks me, for example, what is my secret to stay disciplined? There was a great tweet several weeks ago, which perfectly illustrated why I feel disciplined, or why it's so easy for me to stay disciplined during the trading day and stay with my plan, because I have one. So this is where discipline starts. In fact, if you're prepared, if you know what you're looking for, you can more easy wait for this occurrence then to happen and execute on it according to your plan before. And so this is something which is interesting from a game plan trading perspective. But in addition to that, also I write down, for example, what I, for example, did bad the day before, or where I didn't behave the way I should have behaved. So this is in fact then a target for the next day. For example, stay calmer. For example, how can I achieve that? Reduce the position size, for example. If a stock, for example, in this case, give a clear example, is more spready, probably it makes sense then to reduce the position size. A trade with smaller size, if the trade develops and you're in the driver's seat, well, then I increase the position size. But stay calmer is a non-monetary gain. Focus, be disciplined, get in positive and relaxed state, meditate more, or try to meditate before the trading day to be more relaxed. But you can see this is not a monetary aspect, but it's a pure non-monetary aspect. And so if I have this state then in this preparation, then it's time to start to scan the market. So you can already see, given my routine, it already starts in the morning, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours before my trading day starts during the US equity markets when they open. So I bring my kids to the kindergarten in the morning to get into my zone and into my flow for the day, and know already what I have to go through here, how I share my thoughts, and what is of interest in terms of the assets I plan to trade. And then after I'm in my zone and I prepared accordingly, then I start to formulate a plan for the day in terms of how I plan to trade the market, how I scan the market. So for example, I really I know what I perform well in based on my knowledge before. So I have a strategy, it has a positive expectancy. I can see this because I have a rising equity curve from the lower right, lower left to the upper right in this context. So it's a rising equity curve. Obviously, I'm doing something right. And then I look for within this, I also have subsets, certainly. So several strategies. And I say, okay, this is a strategy I perform really well in. Does it fit the current environment in the stock? Earnings plays, for example. So Zoom delivered earnings. Well, obviously I'm performing well in earnings plays. These are the stats. Then I go through format trades in this context. And based on this knowledge, I then scan the markets for these setups here. And based on that, I then have clear statements like, if this happens, then this and that. I have clear levels I watch here. So I scan the market, I identify potential levels of interest among market participants. I also want to have a look on how much average volume, for example, is traded. Is this a current stock, but also, which is true for FX, but also for indices, for example. Is this an environment which we can consider this asset to be hot? So is it a hot stock right now, or is it a hot index, or is it a hot FX pair, for example, or is there low volatility? So what do I need to see to get interested? An increase in volume, for example. So then we start to talk about something like RVOL, for example, relative volume in this context, where a breakout, which will then happen above a level which I identified earlier, will then more likely to work out, for example. And based on that, again, I write down if-then statements. So if, for example, let's put it directly, give an example. Zoom, come back to the stock. So Zoom sold off sharply, and on Tuesday had trouble to recapture 295. So it just didn't work out. So it didn't break above that level, but bounced again that level. And I said already during the day on Tuesday, I said, well, if we make it above that level, then it's the door opener for a run back above 300. So that was at least my thesis. So I see the market, or in this case, Zoom, failing 2 times, 3 times against 295. The day is done. Well, didn't work out, obviously, which is completely fine. But I keep this in mind. And then for Wednesday, I reformulate a plan for Zoom based on the price action. I say, well, that looked really weak. So I expect the stock to bounce. It doesn't bounce. 295 is my, let's call it, breakout level. It closes near the lows of the day. Okay. And I have, again, information I can use then for the next day in this context. And I say, well, probably we're not yet done on the downside. Probably the short side gets interest. And then I start to see elevated volume in the pre-market. So I know that around 3.3 million shares, if I'm not mistaken, are traded every day on average. And already in the pre-market, over 300,000 shares were traded, which is a clear sign that probably institutions are now stepping in. And what's even more interesting, we opened, or respectively, we opened above 290, but also we drove right from the open at 330, then above 295 and held this level. And that was a clear sign, okay, yesterday the bounce didn't happen. Today I was short, but the price action completely negates my short bias here. And I say, well, now if we hold 295, then I'm probably long based on this and that. So if this happens, 295 is broken, right on the open probably, and we hold, then I tend to the long side based on this and that. And then I formulate my setup then based on what I see in the market. And so this is exactly what then brings us to the point here. I scan the market. I have a clear idea on how I go through this. And then the market opens and I have a 100% focus here. So there should be no distraction at all. Really focus on the market. You sit there, you focus, you scan the market. You see the platform, you see the quotes, you have your clear statement, you have your game plan, and then you really focus and you really want to execute on this. And this is also something you need to make sure that your family, for example, knows this. So this is not something where you can get distracted. So this is the time when I shut the door, when I how do I call this? The key. I turn around the key and I say, well, now I'm out. I'm probably you have some relaxing music, also something which is of interest. Relaxing music depends a little on what you like to hear. Sometimes I'm more the death metal guy, so saying, okay, now it's like the aggressive part. Still, that doesn't mean that you start to trade aggressive, but it's something which keeps me in my zone. So this is again something you have to know, and where you then focus really on the market opening. You have the clear levels to trade off, you have the catalyst, you have clear fundamental data which already shows you that your asset, your stock, your index, your FX pair, your Bitcoin, crypto, whatever, is hot and fulfills certain criteria to be interesting, not just for you, but also for other market participants, and then take it from there. And so now you might say, okay, well, great. Then we execute, then we trade, and that's it, right? So and then write it down in a trading journal. This is where I entered. This is where I exited. Did I follow my rules here in this context? And then bye-bye, unicorn, and see you next day. Well, obviously not, because you have to prepare already the day before. We already mentioned this, but what's of more interest now is the part after. Then not just the market opening, but also after the trading day. Obviously, the market opening, we go through this step by steps now. So I skipped some steps, which I will include now. But you have probably to have a clear plan you follow even after the market open, for example. So you could, for example, say, well, I focus here between, in my case, 2:30 London and 4:30 p.m. London. I focus on the market opening. I focus on what price action do I get to see. And what I then do is, in fact, I do a first review of my trading, how I performed on the opening in this case. So what did I do well? What didn't work out as expected, and why especially? Probably there's a clear sign that, for example, sellers are holding a stock below a certain level, or buyers hold the stock above a certain level. And what I then do, and this is also something which calms me down if I lose this state of let's call it relaxedness, or if I'm not that focused anymore. And we all know, I mean, we are all traders, right? So emotions take over. It can be really, really hard to stay focused and stay in your zone and unemotional the trading day. And even after years of professional trading right now, this is just something what happens, and we have to accept this and then formulate a plan how to deal with this. We are still human beings. We are still emotional in our doing, and thus we have to find ways. In my case, for example, I combine this here after trading the market open. Well, what I do is I say, okay, now I write down first trades, for example. I have my trading journal open. I write it down. I say, okay, this is where I entered. This is where I exit. If I did, these are my thoughts, and I write down my feelings. This is something which is this can be pure gold, and it's in fact it can be mighty, to be honest. So write down your feelings. You have to really talk to yourself and ask you, how do I feel here? Why do I feel the way I feel? What does it make sense? I mean, for example, now coming back from Zoom, let's come to a trade I did yesterday. We start to dry out. Volatility is not very high. Labor Day weekend and all that, and so on and so forth. And yesterday, for example, I had a stock on my list, was ChargePoint. They also delivered earnings on Wednesday after hours, and we had really trouble to after an initial drive lower. We had trouble to recapture 23. I considered it to be interesting trade from a long side here, risk reward wise, in fact. But it was really like now, if I look at it from after the trade took place, after yesterday's trading day, it was just like I was shaking my head, or I'm shaking my head right now, smiling, because I thought, well, this is something you can't influence. It's something you just can't do anything about this. It was like the stock just didn't want to break or directly recapture 23, but instead it was like it was packed at this level. CHPT was just packed at 23. It just didn't break above, then it dipped lower, then rebid again, but it didn't really break above 23. And then somewhere in the it was around 6 p.m. German time or something like that, we just saw a quick spike higher, which was immediately re-offered again. So we dripped back to 23, but then could hold that level, still drop lower into the afternoon. The thing is now, I was kind of frustrated about this. I saw that I had my long trade and a quite good entry, in fact, on the trade. And then I see this choppiness and it really starts to frustrate me. And I look at this chart and just think, well, why can't you just break higher? Okay, why can't you just study higher? And then you feel yourself, like emotions start to build. It was not a big position, it was no big deal, but still, it's like you want to be right on the trade. And then you just say, okay, well, wait a second, breathe in, breathe out, write down your thoughts here first. Take out the trading journal, write down the thoughts. And when you write this down, it's like you remind yourself that there's just things you can't influence. And this calms you naturally down, because then you have to start to smile about yourself. And it's like it's not that you start to laugh about yourself, but it's just like, well, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, your thesis is great, your trade is great, great risk reward in this context. Well, and if we just do not break higher, we don't break higher. Well, what can I do about this? So it's like I could now, I don't know, call at the stock exchange and say, hey guys, please lift 23 here or something like that. But well, obviously this won't work out either. So, and this is something I'd like to remind you of. Writing down a trading journal, your thoughts, is really, it can be not just pure gold in the long run, but it can also be a great way to come back to your zone and to your mental stability in this context when things start to heat up, let's say. And this is something I found out to be very, very useful. So I have also clear windows I trade in. I know I perform well in. That's also something why our trading journal is very, very important, and why a detailed trading journal is very important. And then you say, okay, now the window closes, and now I use the time to recharge the battery, let's say. So in my case now, I really focus mainly on the market opening, but some might probably say, watching this now from let's say the US or somewhere else in the world, and they say, well, there's also the afternoon trading in this case. So the close, let's trade the close. So that being said, well, you can certainly sit in front of your screen all day long and don't eat anything, but usually there's then a time around noon where I also have a very funny story to tell, because initially I started at a stockbroker, big stockbroker, and there was certainly German stocks which were traded. So around, or European hours, we traded the market. So at around 1 p.m. German time, there was lunchtime. And so the interesting thing now was I was never a heavy eater around lunch. I just don't do this, mostly because I know that I tend to perform not that well, not just trading wise, but in general as a person, in general, working wise, it's private wise. I go to the gym most of the week, then in the afternoon, evening in this case. So eating heavy, let's say, is just not part of my day in this context. But I know a former colleague of mine who just ate everything, like hamburger, pizza, fries, French fries in this context. So and really it was really funny to see him. So he was really like very focused and really performing at the highest possible level during the first hours of the trading day. And then in the afternoon, it was just like, it was a complete different person after he had lunch. And this is something also to remind yourself. So probably it's a good idea to not take the hamburger, or to not focus on French fries, but instead focus on a salad. But still, this is also something which is very individual. Some people might say, well, I need this because the sugar, for example, in a milkshake or something like that, is exactly what I need to perform mentally at my highest possible level. That's completely fine. This is again now the point where you have to understand why you have to know yourself well, and then start your trading from there, and structure your trading day accordingly. And then obviously, let's put it here. We get back to the trading desk, okay, and then we scan again the market for the afternoon hours in this case. So in my case, then German time, it would then mean that I focus again between 8 8 p.m. till 10 around. Yeah. So 7 to 9 p.m. London time in this context, which is then where I already see that my overall performance drops, because I'm already I'm awake morning 7 a.m. So and I'm sitting in front of a screen. Then that moment, if I do this something like 12, 13 hours, this is just a little too much. But if you plan to trade the afternoon hours, then certainly you have to then formulate a plan therefore too. So again, visualize yourself in this context, meditate a little. So you do the same procedure as you do in the morning, again, for the markets which are, or the assets which are of interest then for you based on your setups in the afternoon then in this context. And but still, this is not where it all ends. But here, after markets closed, the next step is here, your review trading day. So you ask yourself the question, what did I do well? What didn't work out as expected? Why? Write it down here, the trading journal again. So in fact, you can already see I skip most of this part here. In fact, even though after markets closed, I skip it to some extent because I write it already down in a very detailed fashion. I then work out or have some time with my family, with my kids or something like that. I do something completely different. I don't plan to think about trading, even though this is not that easy. And then I return once again and then write down my trades, for example. Why do I want to do this trade again? Why do I don't want to do this trade again? Write it down. And share also the thoughts with someone. And so this is one of the reasons why, for example, forums or chat rooms, traders, people who are traders, why are they of such high importance for us? Because this is something we do for ourselves. We perform here at our highest possible level, but there's really no one who can really feel what we feel. And thus it's very important then to find ways you can connect with and discuss your trading with. You obviously start to prepare the upcoming day then based on the input you just received. Let's say, coming back to Zoom here in this context, you say, okay, I saw 295 is the level. We closed at the lows. Well, probably this is a short play in the tomorrow. Obviously, it's not. Then we open, we break above 295, taking it from there. But I already knew this the day before. And then you start over again, in fact. And so now what I have here is a real trading example in Netflix. So that was a trade earlier this year. So you will see here that it's Q4 earnings which were published. And so I highlighted here the red part also, which is of high importance because you have to think about this already before. What is the core business? That's in case of a stock then, where what is driving currently gold? What is driving Euro USD? What is driving the DAX, S&P 500, NASDAQ? So you have to have some insights into the market you plan to trade here. So in my case, when looking at a stock, for example, I need to know what's the core business. So where do they make the money? If I look, for example, only at EPS in this context, and I see 1.19 USD against 1.38 estimated, or here revenue 6.64 billion against 6.63 billion, I say, well, this is not a crushing earnings report. So now the question is, where does the gap from more than 10% plus comes from? Reason for that? Well, because streaming paid net change outperformed by more than 30%. So these are the guys paying for Netflix business. And in addition to that, here, even though this is something which is then interesting, growth, this could be kind of a headwind for classic growth title. In case of Netflix, certainly the Corona pandemic, stay-at-home approach and all this is probably something where you say, okay, a streaming paid net change guidance in this case of only 6 million below expectation is probably negative. But that being said, we certainly have a very high growth, have seen a high growth and run up higher in the stock in the months before. So this is probably not what we focus on, but this is in fact here that people pay for the core business. And thus we gap higher and gap close to the all-time highs in this context, so which could drive which could result in a kind of a magnetic effect and driving higher from there and probably squeezing higher. It's also even more true that day was interesting. What's the 21st of January? Probably you remember that was the day when the Biden administration was it wasn't elected, but what's the date? This is this this event which took place here, that the Biden is now the new president of the United States. I'm not really sure what this is called. Probably this also affected the trade, by the way. I know that here, for example, average range. So what can I expect the stock to move then intraday, based on the data before $14? So very interesting, in fact, especially if I can get in the trade with a small risk here. And also, which is of interest here for me, for example, I'd like to see average daily trading volume being higher than 1 million. So it's 4.79 million shares. And then we have the pre-market volume. So I took this screenshot already earlier that day, in fact. So I don't really recall what was reading. Probably I had a webinar. Probably was a webinar I had to focus on here during that time. I don't know. Usually it's 325 CT when I look at this number, but even that doesn't really matter. We had an earnings release. We had already 600 and nearly 680,000 shares being traded, which is significantly above 10% here of the average daily trading volume. So the stock is definitely hot. And then, well, we have here the relevant technical levels. I also prepared this before, obviously, and then I say, okay, we have a strong support 565, 560, and 545. Then we have 575, and then it's all-time high. So there's no there's nothing ahead anymore. And my game plan already was clearly formulated. I said, if we hold above 570. So that was a level in the pre-market, which was of interest here. So, and we will obviously see, probably we get to see a flush down to 565, probably 560. But if we then regain 570 and we can recapture VWAP in this case, so the volume weighted average price, I'd like to play along against VWAP with the target to trade a squeeze up to and above 575 and to no all-time highs, and the stop is maximum 20% of the ATR. So this is one of the key aspects why I look at the ATR, not just to see how much a stock can move, but also how much I can risk on the trade. I was able to come in, get into the trade here with a smaller risk than that. I think it was 250 or something. We tightly consolidated here, in fact. So this is this is the key parameters here, is the trade. It's also the execution. So you can see I'm not just making a story here, but it's really a true trade I took. So you can see here this consolidation taking place. And when I saw that the market could hold 570 and we held above VWAP, you can see VWAP here. So this is an external platform. I use TradingView has this here as an indicator. Well, you can see that this tight consolidation helped me to get into the trade and say I risk against these lows of this tight consolidation. So I get into the trade with 250 risk, something like that. You can see it here. So the entry is 571.56. The stop is close below, so it's in fact only $2. In fact, so you have 569.50 as your stop level, and so based on then the next targets on the upside, I say, well, around 50%, probably 50% of the ATR above my R2 in this context. I'm sorry, R1. It's 575, so it's $7 around. I have 582 as my potential target on the upside, and then I have one ATR 50% here at 590 as my exit. So I averaged on this trade and exit on 586, and here you can see the R multiple, which is very good, I'd say. So 7.1 or 7.4, 7.5 is quite good. And that's it, in fact. So in fact, this is not the interesting part about this. So this is like at the pure execution part. I could execute on the trade as I did because I game planned it before. I had a clear vision on what I wanted to see, why this could push higher, why we could drive to 600 in this context, which we in fact did. And in fact, as you can see, I traded it up to 590. I'm not sure, but I think this is very close to the current highs for the year. So in Netflix, just check out the chart. It's right now it's a hot stock because we're pushing to these levels again. But it was really purely technical based. So it wasn't like I had a crystal ball here or something like that. I just had a clear plan, a clear idea on what I wanted to do, what I wanted to see based on my routine I went through every day, or I go through every day. And here, though, then I write it down. So I tap myself on the back. I say, well, this is something I'd like to repeat because it's something, it worked. It worked well, and I know why it worked well. So first of all, I was well prepared and I was disciplined. And this good preparation helped me to stay disciplined in the trade, and I worked hard for the trade. So what does hard work mean? I mean, I'm not talking about hard work as my grandfather did when working in a coal mine, but I'm as a trader, I work hard when I say I observe the price action. I observe here the close consolidation, really being focused on the chart here, the consolidation taking place here against VWAP then in this case. And this is something which we have to stay disciplined and focused on the chart and don't be distracted. And I was also patient. I fought for a good price then here. And in fact, fighting for the good price here means that I was only 24 cents down on the trade. So I really tried to optimize my entry here in the trade. So some people say, well, the entry is not of importance. I'm not sure if this is true, because the entry in a trade delivers you a good risk reward or a bad risk reward. If you jump into a trade too late, you enter the trade, well, certainly it then depends on where you exit the trade. But all in all, if you see the market moving in a direction, your risk reward could be even better if you get in at a lower price where you probably already had a clear signal to enter then. And yeah, so this is especially true and noteworthy because Netflix is a high beta stock, or a stock which has a high ATR in this context. And still, then there's something, well, where I also like to make some notes here. What can I do better next time? What can I learn? I mean, that was a great trade. You can see this in the slide before, but still, there's certainly some room here in this context to probably make it better next time. I really, really well remember that day I also had another stock on my agenda here. So the question, I mean, it makes perfect sense now afterwards, but still I'm critical enough to wonder, well, was it really probably impatience? I need to trade now because the main focus that day was on another stock here, ACRS. So it's a quite low float stock in this context, was very hot during that time. But it was like, do I really, was I really that convinced about this trade? Or was it probably the frustration that here my main plan for the day didn't work out as expected? So I didn't trade the stock, by the way, but still it was like I had no trade at that moment. Then I also had Netflix on my agenda based on the earnings before. So that being said, it's not just one stock, but several stocks. And then I say, well, probably I just entered the trade, well, based on my rules, based on my game plan, yes, but would I have entered the trade if I'd solely focused on the stock? So this is a question I have to ask myself. Well, the answer is clearly yes, I would have executed, but still, this is something where you can see that even a good trade can or should result in you questioning yourself and trying to make next time a little better, or act accordingly, or find ways to execute better on your trades. And so the summary today is in fact a quite short one. It's in fact the day of a professional a trader here. It's 3 steps. We went through them already in earlier webinars, in fact, and we planned the trade. So already preparing in the evening before, knowing what could drive here now the price action of the next day, earnings release, some, I don't know, news which hit the wire. I don't know. Case of Bitcoin, for example, I just remember that before we broke back above 40,000, somewhere in July, I'm not sure. The main driver that was into a weekend then was that there was a blockchain expert hired, news which hit the wire and which let Bitcoin perform extraordinarily well, because now there was rumors that probably Amazon is about to implement some kind of payment opportunity solution here, blockchain based or Bitcoin based. That was the main driver, and probably the main reason why the stock performed immediately well, but then sold off quite sharply after they denied it, even though it could still hold most of its gains gains then, on the other hand, which could have been a reason to say, hey, I consider this to be a sign of strength, and probably we continue to perform as we did then on the upside. So this is something where we say we plan the trade, we know what we're doing, we know what we want to see, and then we trade the plan, we execute on what we want to see. And the next step is then, okay, now I see what did work well, what is something I can make better the next time. It's not that I perform bad. This is very important. Also something from a psychological perspective. Don't blame yourself for mistakes or something like that. Try to make them something positive. This is something which keeps you in the game, and keeps you motivated in the future, because the mindset is very important also for the next day, as you've seen now. So your mindset from today affects your mindset then for the next trading day. And so it's not something you did bad or where you perform horrible or whatever, but it's something where you say, well, this is something I could do better next time. And this is my plan to do it better next time. And this is something which completely changes the whole narrative, let's say, of this observation. Next step is review, tweak, start over again. So, and this is in fact the professional trader day / the steps he follows. And that's it. I just had a look here at my time. So it's running out for today, but we'll see each other again on Wednesday. Head over to admiralmarkets.com and register for the webinar. A very interesting, a hot topic webinar, and a very interesting topic. In fact, we will look at lithium here, and here certainly also focus on Tesla, NIO, XPath, and answer the question why lithium right now, and the whole battery sector, let's call it, it's probably very, very hot right now, not just for traders, but also for long-term investors. So it's Wednesday on 2 p.m. London. It's the 8th of September next week. Check your inbox if you're already registered for the link. If not, head over, go to the webinars tab, and there register for the webinar. You can see it right at the top. I'd be more than happy to present it to you here. We also not just want to go through lithium and here the EV market in China, but what we also want to do is we want to have a look here at probably the top 3 lithium stocks here, which are tradable at Admirals. Here are the contact details in general. So website admiralmarkets.com for further information. Also, again, if you watch this on YouTube, please leave a thumb up here. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. Set a reminder to not miss any of the future webinars. So fully regulated broker. Here's the risk disclaimer. And so, in fact, that's it. That's it from my end. So I wish you all the best. Happy trading. Watch your stops. Talk to you again next week, Wednesday, 2 p.m. London. I really look forward to it. And that's it from my end. So happy trading. Have a nice weekend. Enjoy yourself. See you there. See you then. And bye-bye.